Well, hello. This is Tony with Stick Tap Sports Network, and I wanted to do a little bit of a recap of the recently concluded 1976 As Played replay that I did. And just going to show off a few little things here related to the replay. I think what I'll do is I'll jump over to the uh, the overview of the season. You might be able to see this a little bit better. So this is how things worked out. In the American League East, it was the New York Yankees um, finishing in first place, as they did in real life, followed by the Red Sox and the Orioles, both within 5.5 games each. The Red Sox were 3.5 games back, finished 3.5 games back. The Orioles finished at 5.5 games back. Um, in the American League West, surprisingly, it was the Minnesota Twins taking the American League West banner with a 97-65 record. They really did fight. Uh, it was kind of a pretty good race in the AL West. The A's were there most of the way. I think they even had a lead at one time in September, um, but the Twins closed strong with 5 straight wins to take the AL West. And so you had a playoff matchup set for the Yankees and the Twins in the American League. In the National League, it was the Pittsburgh Pirates finding a way to overtake the Phillies. The Pirates went on a pretty impressive run, um, took the lead, had it up as I want to say it was either 9 or 10 games at one point. The Phillies then closed to within a couple of games the final week of the season. But they wound up losing 3 straight. The Pirates wound up taking the NL East by 4 games with 101 wins. In the West, the Dodgers kind of hung around first place into July, but the Reds finally found their gear. They were kind of stumbling along for a bit. They finally found their gear and were able to open up a sizable lead, finishing ahead of the Dodgers by 20 games. So among the league leaders in the American League, Rod Carew was the batting champion with a 325 batting average. He was one of 3 Minnesota Twins, as you can see, who were in the top 5. There with Lyman Bostock and Butch Waniger. Rusty Staub was second in batting average, and George Brett fourth. In the home run race, you had Greg Nettles with 44 home runs, easily outpacing the rest of the American League um, by 16 round trippers, more than Tom Grieve of the Rangers and Reggie Jackson of the Orioles. Willie Horton and Lee May were tied for 5th in home runs. Actually, I should say 4th in home runs with 27 each. RBI leaders, Greg Nettles, 111 RBIs. Carl Yastrzemski with 105. Reggie Jackson, 102. Thurman Munson, 101. And Tom Grieve of the Rangers with 96. In the National League, you had Ken Griffey finishing atop the NL batting average leaders with a 374 batting average. Um, rounding out the top 5 was Joe Morgan, Jay Johnstone, Steve Garvey, and George Foster. In home runs, you had Dave Kingman with 37 home runs, followed by Bobby Mercer of the Giants with 32, Mike Schmidt of the Phillies with 29, Rick Monday of the Cubs with 28, and Greg Luzinski of the Phillies with 25. RBI leader was George Foster. He was the only player to break the century mark in the National League with 120 RBIs. He was followed up by Joe Morgan with 99, Greg Luzinski with 95, Tony Perez with 95, and Steve Garvey with 93. ERA leaders in the American League, you've got Dennis Eckersley with a 1.88 earned run average. Wins, Vida Blue with 22 wins. Also, Tom Bergmeyer with 17 saves, tied with his teammate Bill Campbell, both Twins pitchers with 17 saves each. In the National League, you have Doc Medich with a 1.94 ERA for the Pittsburgh Pirates. John Matlack, 2.07. Tom Seaver, 2.08. Matlack also was the leader in wins in the National League for the Mets with 21 wins. And Skip Lockwood of the Mets with 18 saves to lead the National League. In MVP voting, the American League MVP was Reggie Jackson. Reggie, despite not leading in these categories, Greg Nettles led in home runs and RBIs. Still, Jackson with 28 home runs in 138 games, 102 RBIs. So he had a really solid season, a 303 batting average. Greg Nettles finished second in MVP voting. He had a 274 batting average with 44 home runs and 111 RBI. So a little controversy there in the voting, but Reggie did take the vote. In the Cy Young voting, it was Dave Goltz edging out Vida Blue. Goltz, 21-8 with 13 complete games, a 2.90 ERA, and had a very fine season. He just edged out Vida Blue. Vida Blue, 22-11 with 17 complete games, also a 3.03 ERA. In the National League, MVP voting was Joe Morgan, easily outdistancing the rest of the league. He had a 23 home runs, 99 RBIs. He batted .341 with 50 stolen bases. So pretty solid season by Joe Morgan, who won the MVP in real life, if I'm not mistaken. And John Matlack, finishing ahead of Pat Zachary of the Reds. Matlack, as we said, was 21-8, 16 complete games, 2.07 ERA, 164 strikeouts. So there's your award winners. So let's take a look at some of the special events that happened during the season. I won't go into too many of them, but personally, and I should point out that I did not play every game. Most of the games were played by the Digital Diamond game engine. I did, however, roll one game each day of the season. So I was playing, and I played a variety of game engines. The most games were using Payoff Pitch and Status Pro. But other games that were used were National Pastime Next Generation and Pocket Pennant Run. And I might be forgetting another one. Well, there were some games that I played using Digital Diamond. I think that was it. If another one comes to mind, I'll be sure to share. But a few things that did happen while I played games of note were I got a no-hitter playing Payoff Pitch. Don Sutton threw a shutout against the Mets in a pretty good game. It was a It was a 0-0 tie going into the ninth inning. Um, a real pitcher's duel between Craig Swan and Don Sutton. Sutton wound up the beneficiary of a win by the Dodgers, scoring one run in the ninth. A single by Billy Buckner. He stole second, and Sizemore sacrificed him to third, and Garvey singled him home for the only run of the game. And Sutton did walk a runner in the ninth to put the winning run at the plate in Dave Kingman, but he flew out to center field to end the game. So that was fun. Um, so there was that. I also, oops, don't want to do that. I also had two players hit for the cycle during the season. And one of these games was in pocket pennant run. It was Al Oliver. I'm sorry, in payoff pitch. It was Al Oliver hitting for the cycle. Um, he did it in a manner of doubling in the first. He singled in the third, knocking in a run. Another single in the fifth for his second RBI of the game. He tripled in the seventh. And then he had a 2-run home run in the ninth inning. This was a fun game because that tied the game at 6 apiece. The Pirates were losing going into the ninth inning. His 2-run home run ties the game, and then in the bottom of the ninth, Reggie Smith hits a leadoff home run to win the game for the Cardinals. But still, a cycle for Al Oliver. That was a pretty cool happening. And then playing Status Pro, uh, George Foster. Actually, just a couple of days later, he also hits for the cycle. He doubles home 2 runs in the third, triples in the fourth. He had a huge RBI game this game. Let me see. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 RBIs. He doubles again in the sixth, 2-run double, homers in the eighth, and then singles in the ninth. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, that was an infield single to get the cycle. So that was a drubbing, almost like it was the Bengals and the Niners, right? 17-0 was the final game there. That was a lot of that was actually kind of tedious, but the fact that he got the cycle made it worth playing out. So so yeah, those are a few things that happened as far as highlights were concerned or special events. Let's take a look at let's see. We could take a look at some of the batting leaders. This might be a little bit um, a few things that might have been overlooked. Let's see who led the league in stolen bases. In the American League, it was Bill North, followed by Bert. 3 Oakland A's in the top 3. It was North, Campaneris, and Baylor with 73, 64, and 48 stolen bases. So you got the A's. Yeah, we're definitely a running team. Um, let's see here. Let's take a look at the NL quick to see who was the stolen base leader. And that would have been Davey Lopes with 70, followed by Frank Taveras with 58, Joe Morgan with 50, Lou Brock with 46, Bill Buckner with 41. So there's the stolen base leaders. And let's take a look at pitching. Oops, go back to reports. Let's take a look at some of the pitching leaders. All pitching. Should be the American League up first. Complete games. It was Frank Tanana with 23 of the Angels. Angels were not very good, but he had a 19-12 record, so pretty good year for Frank Tanana. Catfish Hunter led the league with 8 shutouts. I'm not going to really take a look at these because I think some of that changed and was a new addition when I added an update. So let's take a look at strikeouts. who struck out the most? Nolan Ryan, 316 strikeouts, followed by Frank Tanana, his teammate, at 266. So those are your leaders. This is combining actually both leagues, so I should have. You can see who the American League or the National League leader in strikeouts was. It was J.R. Richard with 235. Let's see who the NL leader in shutouts was. That would have been Tom Seaver with 6 and John Matlack with 5. Randy Jones with 5. The late Randy Jones, that is. Okay. So we've taken a look at that. Now, I figured it'd be fun to take a look at the playoffs. So let's jump to that. I'm going to pause this for a second. Actually, before we take a look at the playoffs, I want to look at the this is like the domination index. I forget where I got this formula from, but kind of shows who the dominant teams were when it came to runs scored, also runs allowed, using the average, and then how you finished above or below the average, based on I'm not a mathematician, so I'm not gonna say, but I am aware that 3.5 is pretty impressive. Actually, anything above 3 is very impressive, and the Cincinnati Reds were that in this replay, followed by the Pirates, the Yankees, and this average is based upon the National League and American League, so or is based on the average for the National League. So only National League teams have a number derived from that average based upon your league. American League is another standard. So the top teams in that capacity were the Yankees in the American League with the 1.93 index, the Reds 3.3, and that is combined of how you rate when it comes to being below the run against and above on runs for. So yeah, the Reds and Pirates were the top teams in the National League, Yankees and Orioles in the American League. When you look at in reality, this is how they played out in real life. Phillies were actually the most dominant team according to that index, followed closely by the Reds, who were just under 3, Yankees and Royals. Those are the 4 teams that made the playoffs in real life. As you can see here, these 3 teams did, but the Minnesota Twins making it was kind of an oddity. Even the Royals were actually rated a little bit higher, but the Twins actually made the playoffs. So just a little fun with that. I just numbers that I keep. Just looking at how teams played and fared. Looking at runs scored and runs against. Interesting in that this replay, there were 741 runs or less runs scored in this replay than what occurred in real life. And I think that works out to be just under like 0.4 runs per game. So kind of an interesting number there. And like I said, I wasn't consistent with the games that I played, so I don't know if that lends something to it. I'm not entirely sure, but definitely off, nearly, almost 4/10 of a run off real life. So let's see here. As far as how teams did compared to real life, the Phillies were, as far as wins, I looked at wins. Who were the teams that benefited the most from this replay as far as playing above their head, so to speak? Well, the Pirates were +9 wins. The Phillies were -4, so it's a pretty big swing right there. And that explains why the Pirates wound up winning in this replay. This is the replay record. This is the real life record. Um, the Reds were 4 games above their real life total wins. The Braves were 5 above. Dodgers were 6 below that, but that really didn't make a difference because I think they wound up finishing 10 games out in reality. Yankees played below their what they did in real life. They were 6 games off their pace. The Red Sox were 6 above, so that's why they kept things close unexpectedly. The rest of the teams in the National League or American League East were a little bit off of their pace. The Orioles being 1 game off their pace, the Tigers being 8 games off their pace. In the American League or West, yeah, look at the Twins, 12 wins above how they finished in real life. The A's were above, 4 games above, but it wasn't enough to win the AL West. The Royals, yeah, they underperformed. They were 4 games off the pace. So that's that. Just a little something to share there. Okay, so let's take a look at the playoffs here. So let me see if I can do something here. So yeah, let's just take a look at the scorecard. In this game, you had the Twins jump out to a 4-0 lead. They wind up taking a 6-1 lead after 7, and they hold on for a 6-3 win to take game 1 in the ALCS. Let's see here. Yeah, not a real exciting game. Catfish Hunter takes the loss. Dave Goltz with the win. Player of the game was Rod Carew. He went 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs, stole a base. And then in the National League, this game went 15 innings. It was a marathon. The Reds, took a 1-0 lead. The Pirates wound up jumping back on top 2-1. The Reds scored 2 in the 7th on a 2-run home run by Johnny Bench. Pirates come back with a run RBI single by Willie Stargell in the bottom of the 6th. And then in the 7th, in the 7th it was Omar Moreno actually with an RBI single knocking in Richie Zisk. Moreno was pinch hitting for Bruce Keeson at that point. I think he was pinch hitting for Candelaria at that point. So then we have no scoring until the 15th inning when Ed Kirkpatrick knocks in Rennie Stennett, and the Pirates win in walk-off fashion to take a 1-0 lead in their series. So then the following day, we have the Twins just massacring the Yankees. They chase Ed Figueroa after an inning and 2/3. They scored 9 runs in the 2nd inning. Figueroa just really struggled. I think Mike Cubbage with the damaging blow there. He goes 3 for 5 with 3 RBIs. He hits a home run. Bostock and Weiniger also hit home runs. And the Yankees, or the Twins, defeat the Yankees 13-3. All of the games in the playoffs were played using payoff pitch, by the way, so I should point that out. So the Pirates wind up taking game 2 by a 7-5 score. This was a fun game in that the Reds took a 3-0 lead in the top of the first on a 3-run home run by Tony Perez. The Pirates kind of scratched their way back into the game. Hebner homers in the fourth to make it 3-1. The Reds score another run in the sixth on an RBI single by Johnny Bench. And then in the bottom of the sixth, Bill Robinson with a pinch hit single knocks in a run, and that makes it a 4-2 game. And then in the bottom of the seventh, we have Al Oliver leading off with a single, and that's followed by a 2-run home run by Dave Parker. I should point out that Willie Stargell was injured and didn't play in this game. But it was Dave Parker with the big blast to tie things up in the seventh. And then in the eighth, the Pirates score 3 times to take a 7-4 lead at that point, right? The big blow coming in the form of an Al Oliver 2-run double. And the Pirates take a 7-4 lead. The Reds would scratch back for 1 run in the top of the ninth on an RBI single by Griffey, but that is going to be it. And the Pirates take a 2-0 lead in their series. So both series have the home team winning both games at home and heading to their opponent's stadium for the next 3 games. So yeah, the Pirates and the Twins basically holding serve. So we go to the third day here, or game 3, and we see that the Yankees in 17 innings win by a score of 4-3. The Twins did jump out to a 2-run lead in the fourth. The Yankees committed 3 errors in this game. There were a lot of errors in the series, but they commit 3 errors. They give up 2 runs in the fourth. Then they fight back to score 3 in the eighth, bottom of the eighth, to take the lead. Chambliss with an RBI double, Gamble with an RBI single, and then Willie Randolph hits into a 6-3 ground out, but it's able to get Carlos May home, and it's a 3-2 ball game heading into the ninth when Butch Wynegar leads off the ninth with a solo shot to tie the game, and then we settle in for the next 3, 6, 8 innings, and then in the bottom of the 17th, Nettles singles, Piniella singles him to third, Elrod Hendricks strikes out, and then Gene Locklear hits a sacrifice fly to score the run. The Yankees stave off elimination and will live to fight another day. In the National League, not going to be, the Reds aren't as lucky as, or not as fortunate as the Yankees. Pirates jump out to a 3-0 lead with 2 runs in the third and another in the fourth. Willie Stargell, back from injury, hits a 2-run shot in the third inning. And Jim Rooker, the pitcher, with an RBI single in the fourth, give the Pirates a 3-0 lead. And then in the sixth inning, kind of a fun occurrence here, Griffey with a leadoff single, followed by 2 outs by Morgan flying out to center and Perez grounding out unassisted to first. But then back-to-back home runs by Foster, Bench, and Concepcion give the Reds a 4-3 lead. And then they add on 3 more in the seventh on, let's see here, on an RBI sacrifice fly by Tony Perez, and then a 2-run double by George Foster. He gets 4 RBIs in the game, and the Reds have a 7-3 lead at that point. But then we head into the 8th inning, and the Reds bullpen just does not hold. I think they wind up, it's Raleigh Eastwood maybe that got roughed up in this inning. But he gives up a 3-run home run to Bill Robinson. Uh, I'm sorry, a 2-run home run to Bill Robinson. So an RBI single to Richie Zisk and a 2-run home run to Bill Robinson. That makes the score 7-6. So we head into the ninth inning with the Reds leading by a run, and they're unable to hold it as Ed Ott singles. He gets replaced by Tony Armas, who pinch runs, but then he's erased on a fielder's choice by Taveras. So there's 2 outs at that point, or 1 out, I should say. And then Stannett singles. Oliver hits into a fielder's choice, so 2 out, runner on first, or 2 runners on, and Willie Stargell hits a 2-run double to give them the lead. And then that's followed up by Dave Parker, who there's a wild pitch, and then an RBI single by Parker. And the Pirates come back from a 7-3, trailing 7-3 to win 9-7 and eliminate the Cincinnati Reds in 3 games. So the Reds get swept by the Pirates, and we head back to New York to see how things go in the ALCS. And in this game, pretty exciting game. The Catfish Hunter was on the mound for the Yankees. He gives up 6 runs. He gives up 6 runs over the first 3 innings. Larry Heisel with a home run. I'm sorry. Weiniger with an RBI single. Weiniger with 2 RBI singles, I should say. Carew with an RBI single, and hold on a second. Sure, that had to buzz somebody in. So yeah, the Twins take a 6-0 lead. The Yankees start to claw their way back. They hit 3 home runs in the bottom of the third, all solo shots. Randolph to lead things off, followed by Mason, who homers. Rivers flies out to center, and then Roy White hits a solo shot. And the Yankees close the gap to now 6-3. And then in the 5th inning, let's see, 5th inning here, you've got Mason flying out to right. Rivers reaches on an error. He winds up coming around to score on an RBI double by Roy White. Munson singles home White. And with runners on first and second, it looks like, I think it was first and second, Carlos May hits into a double play. That ends the inning. And that is it for the rest of the way, as the Twins hold on for a 6-5 win, and they take they take the series from the Yankees 3-1, and so that pits the Twins and the Pittsburgh Pirates in the World Series. And in the first game, you had a pitching matchup of Bill Singer and John Candelaria. Both pitchers pitch well. The Twins take an early lead on a solo shot by Mike Cubbage. So they're up ahead. They're ahead 1-0. Stays that way until the 7th inning, when Richie Zisk singles and comes around to score on an error by third baseman Mike Cubbage on a I remember now. It was one of those rare plays where it was a single, then an error on the right fielder moved Zisk took him from a single, 1-out single, 2-out single, to a single with an error and a runner on third. And then the next play, Robinson hits a grounder to Cubbage, who can't field it cleanly, and the Pirates tie the game. And then we go to the bottom of the 9th, where Willie Stargell comes up with 1 out and hits a solo home run, and the Pirates take a 1-0 lead in the series, and they've now won 4 games straight in the playoffs. And we head to the second game. And in the second game, the Pirates, behind a good pitching performance by Jerry Royce, a combined shutout, Jerry Royce goes 7. Medich comes in to pitch the final 2, and the Pirates win 3-0. Al Oliver with an RBI single in the third pretty much does it, but they do add on 2 more in the sixth on a RBI double by Bill Robinson and a single by Manny Sanguillen. And the Pirates stretch their playoff winning streak to 5 games, and they take a 2-0 lead in the series. So the next day was a day off. Then we go to October 19th, and in this game, the Twins jump out to an early lead. This is again another sloppy game, 3 errors each for both teams. Bostock reaches on an error, winds up coming around to score on an RBI single by Craig Cusick, and then the Pirates even things up in the top of the third. Hebner grounds out and assisted to first. Sanguillen lines out to the pitcher, but then Taveras singles, steals second, and Rennie Stennett knocks him in with an RBI single, and the game is tied at 1. It'll stay that way until the 5th inning when Sanguillen reaches on an error by the pitcher. He gets caught stealing. Taveras strikes out. So with 2 outs, the Pirates wind up getting a double from Rennie Stennett, followed by an RBI single by Al Oliver, and then an RBI double by Willie Stargell. And the Pirates take a 3-1 lead. They'll go ahead to add on 2 more in the 8th when Richie Zisk hits a solo home run. And then after 2 errors in the field, Rennie Stennett RBI double gives the Pirates a 5-1 lead, and they go on to win 5-1. And they take a 3-0 lead in the World Series, looking to close things out the following day. Following day's game was a pretty exciting game in that the Pirates jump out to a 2-0 lead with an RBI double in the second by Richie Zisk, followed by another RBI single by Rennie Stennett in the third. If I said the sixth, that's just crazy. Okay, so the Pirates score a run in the second and the third, and then the Twins come back with 3 in the bottom of the third. 2-run home run by Dan Ford ties the game, and then Rod Carew's RBI single gives them a 3-2 lead. The Pirates jump back ahead in the 4th when they score 3 runs. RBI single by Dave Parker, an RBI double by Bill Robinson, and an RBI single by Richie Hebner. And the Pirates take a 5-3 lead. And then the Twins come back with a run in the 4th on an RBI single by Larry Heisel. So it's 5-4 at that point. The Pirates answer again with another run in that an RBI double by Willie Stargell, and they now lead 6-4. Yeah, that's right. And then in the bottom of the 5th, the Twins score 3 on a 3-run home run by Craig Cusick, and they take a 7-6 lead. The Pirates would add a run in the 8th to tie it. RBI single by Bill Robinson. So it goes into extra innings. And in the 11th inning, Dan Ford scores on a ground out to first. Stargell is able to come up with the ball, but he's not able to get the play at the plate, and that scores Dan Ford. And the Twins stave off elimination. They cut the series lead down to 3-1 on the Pirates. The Pirates will have to wait another day to clinch. So we go to Game 5, and this is where the Pirates put the finishing touches on the season. They take a 1-run lead in the third on an RBI single by Frank Taveras. The Twins answer with an RBI single by Rod Carew. It's 1-1. We go to the fourth. Pirates tack on two on an two RBI double. Two-run double by Bill Robinson. Cusick leads off the fourth with a home run for the Twins, and that cuts the lead down to 3-2. But then, of all people, it's always some surprise, right? In the top of the fifth, Rennie Stennett hits a 3-run home run to give the Pirates a 6-2 lead. The Twins would add a run in the seventh on a solo shot by Larry Heisel to make it 6-3 at that point. And then the Pirates add a run in the top of the ninth on a RBI single by Richie Zisk. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, the Pirates bring in, let's see what happened here again. Oh yeah, the Twins get a little bit of a rally going. They have two runners on. The Pirates go to the bullpen. They bring in Larry Demery was in at that point. They bring in Bob Moose to get the final out. He does, and the Pirates win the World Series 4-1. So that's how this replay ends, with the Pittsburgh Pirates winning the World Series 4-1 over the Minnesota Twins, and that is going to do it. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, let me know. Leave a comment. And I guess that's going to be it. So probably until next week. So I hope everybody is doing well and enjoying the holiday season. And take care. Thanks.